So Anna escorts you guys into town, just underneath a
Wait, does
pretty.
Austin have a new recording going?
Yeah, I did it. I changed it.
Okay.
Yeah, he said
Just
he was doing it. All right. So she takes you guys deeper into the town on Tortage. The town is not much better than the docks were. It's gross and disgusting, and nobody here looks like they want to be your buddy. Ironically, Anna's the friendliest looking person in town.
and now it really.
For some added flavor. You guys look around. The town is pretty much just kind of constructed on the fly, so to speak. Like, basically, there will be a store, and then stacked on top of it, because they ran out of room, is like a hotel. And everything's just held together with stilts, twine, and a prayer.
He sure does like a prayer.
Smack dab in the middle of the plaza is a very much occupied gallows. A soldier in a naval uniform you can't identify hangs from it. A sign next to the gallows says "Pirates ye be warned," but "pirates" has been crossed out in what you pray is red paint. The skeleton itself is picked clean by scavengers, both the metaphorical ones and the literal ones. And the town is just kind of running about its scummy business.
Whenever he sees the gallows, old Red just kind of like rubs the back of his neck. Well, not the way I would have done it.
Yeah, the locals seem to think it sends a message. You know, I would have thought the fleet outside the docks would have done that, but that's just me.
It seems like this place is poorly planned.
Can't believe there's actually pirates to hang, considering how much it's used against us.
And in response to your thing, Flower and Fall, Anna pipes up. Yeah, it's funny you say that. It wasn't, actually. This place used to be owned by Britannia, but eventually other people kept showing up, and their control kind of lessened a bit, and now it's just whoever can survive the trip.
Huh. Well then.
She smiles at you and says, "You didn't think people like us got an archaeologist job in a town like this, right?"
You know, maybe.
Yeah. Seems like you find some interesting stuff here, even if it's run down.
Yeah, might want to wash it first.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great.
Even the history's up like Nassau. It's like Nassau 2.0.
You guys can talk, by the way. Like, Anna's just kind of free and getting her bearings.
Hopefully there's a good place to get something to drink.
So how long have you been a big monster man?
Ever since ship went down, there he was.
Huh.
Oh
Apparently,
no.
all he cares about is getting a good meal. So my job seems isn't. You tend to drop a lot of bodies when you're a pirate.
Well then.
Anna, while this conversation is going on, is just kind of rambling to you, Paul, about more of the town's history, which is like the most talkative you've ever seen her. It seems like Flower got her started, and now she's just kind of rambling about history and archaeology.
Can I say Fall is listening to her?
Yeah. Basically, it's the kind of stuff a historian kind of says. It's just like, well, you know, I say that it was founded by the Britannians, but it was technically the Argosians first. But then the Britannians took it over, and that's all anyone remembers. So people forget who originally made the place. But then they didn't even build anything before, and like she's just kind of rambling about like history and politics of the town.
Yes, I see. Cool. Yes.
Can Fall just kind of like land on her head?
Yeah, you can occupy the same space as another person, so.
Yeah, it's not in like a mean way, she's just tired.
Yeah, just like, it's been a long day.
Yeah.
She smiles up at you, seeing that you, Vryn, are clearly pretty tired, and says, yeah, it's a bit of a day, isn't it? Look, I'll head over to the west side of town and start getting my roommate ready for your arrival. Don't want you coming home to a dirty house, right? There's some stores around here you can buy stuff if need be, and if I don't get back to you before nightfall, she tosses you guys some gold and says, "There's an inn just across from the." She glances at the gallows.
Did she give us
Just a sack, and she tosses it to Paul, but you presume it has enough for all of you.
Paul keeps the whole thing. No.
Nice.
Captain Rose is like, honestly, I just drink after a good battle like that.
So Paul just pulls out of her sack a small jar that has a tiny mouse in it. And opens it and gives it some patents.
Oh.
The little creature gives little squeaks.
Squeak, squeak.
Squeak, squeak. I love how both me and both went to make squeaks.
Oh yeah, squeak, squeak, man.
That's a guinea pig.
I don't know. Well, what sounds
it's
do
still
mice
squeaking.
make?
Mice don't really make noise.
I don't know.
I mean, they'll make noise, but like
They don't make like sounds.
yeah, as far as I've seen, anyway.
They're very stealthy creatures. They're like stealthy assassins coming in the night to steal your food.
Well, because I mean, like owls eat them, so it's like
The snake eats them too.
get caught.
I've seen a snake eat a mice a few times.
Yeah.
Oof.
Also, as a side note, by the way, Anna goes to the west side of town, like she was saying before. You notice that she kind of like you ever like realize that you're going away somewhere and like turn around really quickly.
Oh.
She basically does that, and when she sees you guys looking, she just kind of says, like rubbing the back of her head before pointing to the east side of town, which is where she meant to go.
Oops. We got her started. We got her started, and she got distracted.
Alright. So how much gold does she give us?
In total, she has given you. I have it written down. Sorry. She has given you. God, I really need to organize my notes better. 10 coins.
Well, that's gonna be hard to split.
3 ways.
So-
You couldn't give us like 12, so it could 4.
Well, like I said, she just gave you this if you needed a room at like the inn for the night if she didn't get back to you in
Okay,
time.
I understand now. Wonder how much
So-
the drink's gonna be.
Are we near well, we're not near the docks, I guess, but are we still near water?
Yeah, like you can literally see the docks from where you are. Like you're just in the archway to enter town.
Yeah.
Okay, so Flower and Fall is just gonna be like, we're gonna be right back. We gotta change the water for our. Well, I don't have a name for him, but for the mouse.
All right.
Captain Red's. I'm gonna go to the tavern and see what the prices are like.
Okay. What is Paul gonna do?
Well, especially now he has some new cooking utensils. He's gonna go shop for some ingredients.
Some ingredient.
Yeah. I mean, he did get some new recipes from the.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. So you're gonna head over to the marketplace.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll just kind of go in the order that everyone spoke up. So, Flower and Fall, you fly down to the docks to change out your Flayer Mouse's water.
Yeah, you need to do it every day. So.
All right. Anything else you want to do with the little fella, or?
Sniff out treasure boy.
Sniff out treasure.
They're supposed to find good fortune. So.
Maybe that's how you got on.
So, are you actually gonna have him go out and try to find treasure?
I mean, they'll follow him.
All right. So we'll cut back to you then. Captain Red, you're still saddled with an unconscious cultist, but Vrian, the like.
Can I loot him? See if he has any gold on him.
Sure.
Well, okay, then I loot him. He has gold on.
All right, give me just a second. I have a system for looting. based off of. Oh, I wish I had the person's name. I'll put it in the description of the video or send it to Austin. But a table that randomly generates loot. So the cultist you're carrying, my main man, my good sir. He is carrying a crystal of some kind. You don't know how much it's worth, but it seems fairly valuable.
Well, I guess he's gonna have to go pawn shop then. If he doesn't have any like straight gold on.
All right, so where are you heading off, Captain Red? You want to pawn that crystal off, or just head to the tavern and try your luck?
Pawn that bitch.
All right. So make me a perception check, because none of these places are like clearly labeled, so you're gonna have to wander a bit to find a place that you can pawn
Oh
this
god, I hate every time I have to roll because it's always shit.
off. Okay. So you wander around for a bit, and at least initially, you're starting to wonder if this place even has a pawn shop. Not to mention your entry to some parts of town are blocked by either dudes in really shabby clothes or dudes in really nice clothes, who seem to just be with two different little groups. But you do eventually find a pawn shop that's nestled on top of the marketplace that Paul is currently at. But before you enter, you feel a little tugging at your pant leg.
Oh.
He just looks around. What was that?
You look down and see a little doll, a little, kind of, classic like Victorian kind of doll.
What in the blazes?
She holds her hand out to you, seeming to not even be asking for, just demanding a handshake.
Okay then.
As you shake her hand, to your surprise, she speaks. Hi, I'm Dolly.
I like this.
Hi. What's your? You trying to rob?
Well, the only thing I'm trying to rob you with is these prices.
Whoa.
And she pulls a little tiny, cute red wagon up that is stacked to its brim and then some with various goods, weapons, ammunition, just about everything. And she's eyeing your crystal pretty greedily, and says, "I'll take that off your hands for about 100 gold. What do you say?"
Yeah, you see. Is that really your top offer?
She kind of narrows her eyes at you, and says, "This isn't going to be bargaining."
Everyone has a price. If you only give I got no use.
She takes the crystal from you and deposits a little parcel of 100 gold into your hand, tosses the crystal kind of haphazardly into her wagon pile, and starts dragging it away, shouting over her shoulder, "Thank you for shopping at Dolly's!"
And he's like, well, now I definitely can go to the tavern. And
Yes.
goes to the tavern.
All right, so let's scroll down a bit. Let's friggin' pan directly down, actually, to see what Paul's up to. So, Paul, you find yourself in a pretty. Ironically, the market is actually arguably the most respectable part of town you've seen so far.
Hey.
And there's a bunch of tents
Hey.
and whatnot set up. The pawn shop is supported above the bazaar by, like I said, like still. Basically, it's kind of bungeed to other nearby buildings to keep it up with a little simple bridge connecting it to the rest of town. So you're just kind of in the shade beneath it. To your surprise, most of the stands are run by Cyclopses of all things. And they don't seem particularly mean. They're just kind of sitting there quietly, seeing if you're going to buy anything. There seems to be a stand for just about everything. Although, to your surprise, the food stand, the one place you came here for, is completely unattended.
Oh.
Loot it.
I'm gonna browse their wares, see what they have to offer.
They offer just about everything. The food place is, like I said, unattended, but they just offer pretty much everything you can think of with food. And the two like manned little stands, the manned stands, the stamans, if you will, are offering pretty much anything that's not food, just knickknacks, weapons, ammunition, same as Dolly's little shop, except not mobile. So
Yeah.
just about anything you could think of, you can probably find it here.
Did I get that right?
Yeah.
That one seemed like an uncultured swine who doesn't know that rhyme.
Let's see. Well,
What will he do?
yes, but is there ingredients to make? Other ingredients to make the new recipes I know?
It'll be a bit pricey, but yes, the ingredients are there.
He did make 30 gold working the ship.
Well, yeah, I started out with 10, so I have 40. And technically I have the 10 that the lady gave me, but that was meant for
Yeah, it's meant for the
tavern.
group. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm gonna pick out my stuff and then like sort of like ask, how much for these items?
One of the Cyclopses kind of looks over at you like, oh, and kind of jogs over to friggin' man that stand and starts ringing up your purchases. And as he's doing this to kind of calculate how much it's all worth, he says, I'm really sorry. Our third brother is wandering off doing whatever it is he does when he wanders off. He's supposed to be running this.
That'll be 500 gold.
To your surprise, he actually looks up at you, kind of scans all of your ingredients, like metaphorically speaking. This ain't Walmart. He scans all of your ingredients, jots down some prices before he holds out a hand and says, 2 gold, please.
Oh,
Oh wow, shit's cheap here.
or he doesn't know how to count.
Actually, he says, normally it'd be a bit more, but, inconvenience and all that.
Well, I offered him. I'll give
Plus
him.
gold is actually a lot. There's like shillings and stuff.
Yeah, I give him 2 gold, and there we go.
All right. And for the record, Carly actually does raise a good point, because I am taking, again, to take this a bit more seriously than our normal D&D sessions, I am taking each currency type into account for these rather than just gold being the default. That is just what all of that together would have totaled out to. And then he just cut it down again for the inconvenience. All right, so you have enough to make at least experiment with the recipes that the dark elf on the ship taught you. Anything else you want to do here?
I think you're like. I think I'm good, so I'll try to find the archaeologist lady.
Okay. As you leave, the Cyclops who you hadn't spoken to calls after you to say, remember, if you're feeling lucky, shop at the e-shop. And you can hear
Just
the
sighs.
And you can see the two Cyclopses kind of mutter to each other, and you hear the one who said that saying, I always hate that stupid line.
Understandable.
All right, so you're off to find Anna. So let's catch up with Flower and Fall then. So go ahead and roll me investigation.
Ooh.
Okay, let me look at their nice sheets right here. And get a +1. So 19.
Okay. To your surprise, do you have a name for the mouse yet?
Let's call him. Folly.
Okay. So Folly actually leads you back into town, and you fly off after him. You actually pass underneath Captain Red, who's leaving the area of the pawn shop, and right in front of Paul, who's heading off to find Anna on the east side of town. And Folly leads you into the kind of grimy, dark alleyways behind all of the bazaars and buildings. Kind of a shady area.
Cool.
Hey.
And he starts sniffing at a door hidden behind all of the other buildings in Tortage. Seems like whoever lives here doesn't want to be found, but Folly insists that there's some valuables.
Yeah, we'll squeeze in there.
All right. So you friggin' sneak your way in. Like I said, it's a pretty derelict building, so there's some holes in the door. You can just kind of
Just kinda, yeah.
octopus your way through. And within you find a very bare bones circular room with a circular table with a crystal ball on top. And sitting across from it is a man in very trying too hard wizard outfit, who is currently napping with his head in his arms.
Flower and Fall just kind of look at each other. And Fall just kind of goes and like stands on his face and knocks on his forehead.
He jolts up really hard, sending them flying. Who's that?
Hello, old man. Flower in his face.
He kind of stares at you, nose kind of crinkling up. To give you a description of this fellow, like I said, very much a wizard who's trying too hard. Just picture Gandalf, but the outfit is like really colorful.
Yeah, it's one of those stereotypical wizards with
Very
like the
much so.
blue
Like-
robes and the stars.
Like if you just picture generic mage character, this is pretty much what you're looking at.
I love it.
And he simply looks at you, Flower, after he kind of finishes coming to his senses, and just says, "I am no mere old man."
Well, we don't know. Introduce yourself.
And he like stands up to his decently imposing height, and lightning starts to crackle around the room. Thunder starts to bang. A lot of noise and excitement. Doesn't seem like he wants to be found. And says, "I am Magar, the mighty mage."
Yeah.
Flower and Fall give him some applause.
So is he like this? Because I just looked up generic mage character.
Pretty much. Like for those of you in the audience, literally Google generic mage. That pretty much gives you the idea. He
Oh, shit, I was
bows.
in like not in a stream mode when I did that.
He bows to you, thanking you for the applause. Before he sits back in his seat with a little creak, and just says, "So, what can I help you young ladies with?"
We came here because Folly led us here.
"Ah, the little flare mouse." And he looks down to see Folly, who's scratching at a small chest hidden in the corner of the room. And he chuckles a bit before he kind of glances at you, smiles very kindly, old man style, and picks up Folly, who doesn't really struggle or anything, and just hands him back to you guys.
Just hold on to him.
And he just says, "It can be unwise to let pets wander so freely in this town."
Don't worry, he's trained really well, specifically for the
Can
smell
they
of
hold
treasure.
this mouse?
One more time.
What?
Can they hold the mouse, or is it like too big for
Yeah,
them to hold?
They shrink it.
Yeah. Well, they can't really shrink living beings. He's just kind of roughly their size. I mean, I say they'll just have a bag of holding to hold him.
I honestly just assume they like ride him into battle or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, he smiles and says, "Oh, I don't doubt that, but I'm afraid me and my treasure just can't be so easily parted. Nothing against you. In fact, if I had the gold to spare, I would in fact give it quite freely, but I'm afraid I'm sort of on my last legs, economically speaking."
Oh man,
Just here,
that
have some
sucks.
gold.
Do you want us to find some money for you?
He
I love
chuckles.
this voice. You want us to find some money for you?
He chuckles and says, "I'd like that very much, but there's no pressure. And in fact, I'm willing to offer something in return." He snaps his fingers, and the kind of tablecloth around the circular table raises up, and a bunch of scrolls start to kind of fly
Oh.
around the room. And he smiles at you and says, "I'm a humble man with humble needs. For 1 gold piece, I shall offer you a spell scroll of your choosing."
Cool. I think urchins, like, do they not start with any money? I don't remember.
I'll check your character sheet.
Yeah, I don't. Let me check.
That's what it's there for. Character sheet is great.
Uh, yeah, they start with 10. 10 money. So
That's
yeah, we'll
fast.
spend like a few coins, like 2.
Okay, so two gold.
Yes.
All right, you can pick 2 spells, and he will give you 1 scroll for each.
What does he have?
Literally any spell in the book.
Oh. Well then, I'm gonna need some time to look through this.
Want us to go back to some other characters?
Yeah, for now.
All right. Let's catch up with Captain Red then. So Captain Red, you head into the tavern. It's a humble little area. A man nearby, who kind of resembles Igor. It's not him, but just like he kind of looks like him. Is giving a sort of improv sermon, not related to the cult, just to politics, on at a nearby table, and a riveted, and I'm putting riveted in the biggest air quotes that I can fit in my voice, crowd is pretending to listen, but is mostly just getting free drinks from him. And the barkeep is standing nearby, as all fantasy barkeeps always are, washing a glass with a dirty rag. Um, and he looks up at you with a nod. He actually kind of looks like Paul, like
Oh.
notably so.
It's like, she's like, what is with all these people looking like people I know? Am I already drunk? I think he just says to the barkeep, "Hey, with that kind of dribble in the background,
He nods silently to you and pours you a gallon of Red Drake, and taps 4 fingers on the table to indicate that that's going to be 4 gold.
he pulls out 4 gold and puts it on the table. He's like, there you go, barkeep. Starts drinking his drink.
He nods to you and goes back to washing his glass.
Yeah.
And I guess he can't help but notice what the guy is, whatever the dribble the guy's having coming out of his mouth.
It's nothing really notable or interesting. Like, you don't even have to make a check for this. I promise you, it's nothing like relevant to your quest or even really interesting to talk about. But you do put together like the guy's deal from listening to him. This is a politician named Jimter. He's sort of the, sort of not quite a king, but a little more relevant than a mayor. But he sort of runs the town politically, or so he wishes. You overhear, based on what he's talking about, that the town is currently locked in a stalemate between a mafia and a local branch of the Thieves Guild. And Jimter is rising to political power on the promise that he's going to drive these criminal scum from our docks.
Oh. That's gonna work.
Captain Red just chuckles to that. If I had a gold coin for every time someone said that about a place,
I would have 1 gold coin.
I'd have lots of gold coins.
But one actually like notable thing that he mentions is whenever he's like sort of giving his his sort of rundown of how exactly he plans to go about this. Most of it is just random nonsense that won't work. But one thing that does catch your ear is what the captain told you about when you were getting off the ship. Jimter is the one who locked down the town. No one out. Like, people can come in, but no one can go out until they can prove to him specifically, personally, that they aren't a criminal. And that's one of his methods for, if not exterminating crime, then at least containing it.
And Captain Red just says again,
Like we did.
take another drink.
But other than that, it's just political dribble. Nothing particularly interesting besides that. So
I guess
he's
he's
gonna,
trying to see if there's any other conversations he can hear.
nah, like it seems like everyone isn't getting drink from this guy has already left, so they don't have to listen to him.
He's just like shaking his head at the nonsense this guy is saying.
All right, so let's cut to Paul then. So Paul, you're out looking for Anna.
Yeah, just I mean, she mentioned some place and somewhere, you know.
Good old
Do you-
Polly.
Do you remember where she went?
Well, she was gonna go west, but then she mistaken and she went east.
So you're gonna go that way to look?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So you head off that way, past the tavern and past the freaking wizard dealings, and you pass through another archway. Thankfully, no one seems to really bother you. But go ahead and make me a perception check.
Oh, shit, here we go.
I'm good at perception, so it's alright. Well, the nat 1, but got a +5, so it's a nat 6.
Nothing seems to bother you. So this area is sort of you can tell that this is clearly the most recently established part of Tortage. Parts of it are built into a nearby river that flows off into a waterfall going off the island. And you're just on a concrete block that's just stuck to the rest of the town, just sort of glued there. Um, and there's a few very shabby looking houses nearby, and you cannot for the life of you think of where Anna might have gone. The only other areas here besides just residential stuff is another archway across from you, although this one is guarded by a man in shabby clothes with a very imposing looking spear.
He will shove right up your... if you try to go past him.
What do you want to do? You're in a big residential area, nothing of particular note that you can see with your nat 1 perception. The only other area seems to be guarded.
Well, I'm gonna go approach the spear man and ask him for directions.
He kind of looks at you almost incredulously. To give you a description of the guy, by the way, he is a freaking stubbly, pale, sickly-looking fella. You can see when he kind of looks at you, his teeth have hopefully intentionally been whittled down into points. Although the job was a bit poor, so some of them are sharper than others. And his eyes kind of permanently have a red tint to them. Not like the evil blood red, like the pink, like I've been staring at a bright light for too long kind of tint.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't look like he's in the best of shape, like in any sense of the word. But eventually, he kind of grunts and says, "Where to?"
Well, I'm looking for a lady. Her
Aren't we all, fella?
well, this particular lady, her name is Anna, and she's some archaeologist. I'm not too particular, but
Oh, that house there. And he gestures to the second house from the archway. like from when you entered.
Well, I very much appreciate it.
No problem.
Why is this so funny?
I don't know. And I'll just be on my way and visit the lady's house.
All right. So you enter the house. It's not locked or anything. And
Walk in.
yeah, and sure enough, I mean, I'm presuming you do that, yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh
Uh,
yeah.
You find yourself in what is blessedly the cleanest place you've ever seen in this town. It's a very well kept library with a nearby desk with various quills and parchments for studying and taking notes. Anna is inside talking to a very large Groot-esque tree person.
I am Groot.
Well, I'm just gonna insert myself into the kitchen.
Yeah, for the record, this house is pretty shabby. Like I said, Tortage was not really built with like zoning laws in mind. It's literally just the library and the studying desk and a nearby bucket.
Alright, so there's no kitchen area?
Nope.
So how did they not notice him walk in?
Well, they're really deep in convo right now.
Yeah.
Basically, for your benefit, Paul, Anna is just kind of bringing this tree dude up to speed on what you guys got up to. Speaking of which, you're still carrying the tied up cultist. Do you want to deposit your cargo?
I'm dragging that guy around.
I'm just imagining he just like totally forgot in character that he had this guy.
Oh yeah.
I actually kept it in mind, but someone dragging around someone tied up, not at all an unusual sight here.
I guess that yeah, I'll put him on. I'll put him against the wall and.
All right, and the thud from that gets their attention, and she looks surprised to see you, but not unhappy, and says, "Oh, I wasn't expecting you guys for a little bit longer. Are the other three behind you?"
Nope.
And she smiles and says, can't say I'm too disappointed. Anyway, I want you to meet my mentor. He taught me everything I know. And she gestures up to the tall, ancient-looking tree man. He is what's known as a dryad, and he holds a branchy arm out to you for a handshake.
And I gladly accept the handshake and give him a chook.
He stares at you really quietly for a while before saying, "I am Treebeard."
I thought he was gonna say I am Groot.
No, I'm just messing with you. My name's Professor Plaster. Pleasure to meet you.
I'd be like, I am Paul.
Paul Blart.
I am Steve Rogers. Professor Plaster shakes your hand and says, "Now, if I do say so myself," looks directly at camera, "I am astute." And with that, we'll cut back to another character. I had that pun ready to go for the past like 2 things, waiting for someone to walk into it.
Wait, astute?
Yes,
Yeah.
astute.
This was a reference to I am Groot.
Yeah, but wordplay.
Okay.
Work.
All right, so cutting back to you. So, like I said, with 2 gold, you can get 2 spells of your choice from Magar the Mighty Mage.
Okay, so
Magar
they're
the
gonna,
Mighty Mage.
they're gonna
Yeah.
ask him, do you have 2
Mighty Morphin
mass healing
Mage.
words?
He nods, and 2 scrolls hover towards you, 1 in front of each of you.
Sweet! I'm just gonna take them, and they shrink. Like
Thank
Animal
you.
Crossing style.
Thank you very much. You and your friends feel free to come back anytime.
We will! Don't worry. You just kind of float off.
All right. So Paul, I'm guessing like you're probably just gonna hang out with Anna and Professor Plaster for a while.
Yeah, and maybe somehow set up like I don't know how, but guess a makeshift kitchen
Do you
station.
have a what pack do you have?
I think I have a pack.
Because I know you can get a mess kit that serves that exact function. You could probably go get a mess kit at that bazaar if you want, if you just need an improv kitchen.
It seems I do need that. Yeah, but all I have is fine clothes, a ring, and 10 gold.
All right. So do you want to go pick up a mess kit?
Yeah, I'll go get ready for dinner.
So is that you're just gonna tell them that you set up for dinner?
Yeah, like, well, seems as though this house is trash, but no,
uh, Anna just goes, "Hey!" But freaking Professor Plaster just laughs and says, "Yes, I'm sorry. This place, it's cheap, but it's not high quality.
at least it's clean, you know.
I do what I can. Come back as soon as you can. We'll be ready for you." All right. So you're gonna go pick up them thar
Yeah,
mess
man,
kit.
you get
All right.
me a messy boy.
All right. You actually pass Flower and Fall on the way. Do you three just want to kind of group up?
I mean, I have a
Hey, do you know where Anna
destination.
is?
Yeah, just down there in one of those houses, you know.
Just one of them.
I mean, just wander around. But
Hey,
it's down there,
how much?
point at the house.
And what's up, Hunter?
How much would a whole bottle of the Red Drake have been?
A whole bottle would have been about 8 gold.
Alright, so I'm gonna deduct that and then say he drank that to explain what's about to happen.
Okay.
Explain what's about to happen.
All right. So Flower Fall, are you just gonna go search for Anna?
Yes.
All right. I think that's so. Paul's a great healer, but seems to be really in a hurry to get cooking, so he didn't really stop to give good directions.
I mean,
All right, so you head back over to the e-shop.
Oh well, if that's what's gonna happen, then we'll leave it go around and
Well, yeah,
just
no,
have him actually buy the bottle.
okay,
So next time it's my turn, he's gonna actually be like, "Hey, how much for a full bottle?"
okay. So Paul, you head back into the e-shop, and sure enough, the dude on the left is selling various tools, including a mess kit.
Let's see. The brewer supply.
Do you need to know how much it's going to be?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna just be like, grab if they have a mess kit, grab one of those and ask him the price.
Okay. He nods and says, 4 shillings.
All right.
So basically a third of a gold piece, roughly.
A third.
Yeah.
All he has is gold pieces.
Well, he'll just give him change.
Yeah, I guess I'll give him 1 gold piece and.
You reach into your pockets only to find nothing.
I think you've been pickpocketed.
I guess that's what the perception check was. Hey.
I guess you'd have to go find someone else who has gold.
Find someone or just do nothing. Gold's been taken.
Sorry.
Oh no, it's. I mean, It happens. I was
So
just like,
everybody who walks in there gonna have to do that perception.
well,
No, I actually just had it scripted that the first person would, but who knows? Maybe after success, the pickpocket might get cocky.
And he walked off with like
Yeah.
they walked off with 48.
It's not bad.
Because he walked off with my gold and the money that was given to me.
That is actually a very good point.
Boy, oh boy. Well, buy all of our money.
holy
Uh,
dude.
hmm.
Honestly, I think after a score like that, he need to steal another.
Just like, I'm good. Are you kidding?
Like with how much food prices are here, fed just weeks.
I'm gonna turn my life around.
Yeah.
He's just gonna
Uh,
math it today.
well, I'm just gonna respectfully put down the item. You know, can't buy it, and
The Cyclops kind of smiles, kind of half-heartedly at you, and says, "Pickpockets, huh?"
seems that way.
He kind of taps his fingers a bit, seeming kind of deep in thought, before he kind of like does like the hand thing of like come here, to whisper to you, "Don't tell anyone I told you, but the areas behind town tend to be the sort of nesting grounds for characters like that. May find what you lost and then some."
Hmm. Brewing up a plan here. Well, can't get a messing kit and give a good meal to my fellow allies and all that with no money, so I'm gonna follow that advice and visit this shady area.
Okay, uh, Captain Red, what's up?
So I guess he bet. So he like looks to the bartender and finishes, and it's like, "Hey, Bucky, how much for a whole bottle?"
He taps 8 fingers on the bar,
Done. Gives him the 8.
and he just slides you a bottle of Red Drake.
He just pumps the top. He just pops the top with like a. Oh, okay. I thought it was nice. So to open up the top, he literally just gets it with like the bottom edge of one of his hand axes and just
Opens it like a true Viking.
Yeah.
just drops it back for a quick. He's gonna be drinking a little bit.
All right.
Gonna be
Boy, oh boy.
drunk.
He's gonna be just on the floor in a bit.
Drunk with the alcohol
Hey,
poisoning.
he's pretty used.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough.
All right. We'll come
Blaming
back
on
to you.
the alcohol, baby.
All right, Flower Fall. What are you up to?
So we're just gonna take the directions that Paul gave us and bust into Anna's house.
Well, he didn't tell you which house. He just said,
Damn it. We're gonna keep an eye out for her house and then bust in with her tiny bodies.
make a perception check.
Wait 1 second.
1 gets pickpocketed. They just make that like that's the penalty for getting like a 1. You get pickpocketed.
Someone pickpockets you.
1 second, let me check my.
That'd be really
Modifier.
interesting in a campaign to have like different like area effects if you roll a 1 on certain rolls.
But
Yeah, some do have things like that.
you could pickpocket a fairy.
I got a 9. Beautiful.
Same deal as with Paul. Like not in the pickpocketing
Matthew,
sense.
that is a good question. Pickpocket a fairy.
Aggressively.
You could try, you will get caught.
Yeah, all you see is that this is a residential area, and the guard sitting across underneath the other archway.
Just sighs. Let's go ask him.
Okay.
I mean, you already got the guy's description, right?
Yeah.
So he just kind of stares blearily at you.
He's like, I can't believe this happened twice today.
Woman must be popular, you know.
I mean, we all know what I have to do now whenever I walk over there.
Yeah, so Flower Fall, what do you want to say?
Hey, Mr. Garden Guy, do you know where plant lady dressed like Indiana Joe?
Well, wait, no, this is a fantasy setting, so
No, I know.
it'd be Indianapolis Joseph.
Yeah.
Indianapolis Joseph. You know,
Yeah,
right?
him.
You got it.
He just kind of stares at you before he just says, "Okay, the last guy said that she was an archaeologist, but level with me. Is she like a dancer or something?"
No.
No.
That's
not
fair.
not that I know of.
She just didn't tell us where she lived. She just said she lived over here.
Well, this is where everyone lives, so that's a fair deduction on your part. Also, I suppose it's fair that she's not a dancer. At your size, that'd probably kill you. Second house from the left.
Cheers. If we find any, we'll tell you.
Just making friends with this random dude.
This-
This is like half the fun of D&D, like that comic where they try to seduce a catfish.
Yeah.
It's like, just cross the river, you all tried seducing the catfish.
All right. So, Flower Fall, you enter the house. Same deal as before. Her and
No, we have to bust in.
All right.
They're
You
tiny
bust.
bodies.
You bust in, and you're lucky that you're tiny, because when you do, a whip crack snaps between the two of you, like missing you like by an like millimeter, even at your like the wind literally separates you guys, and you go flying into the walls, taking 1 bludgeoning damage each. And Anna looks down at you and just says, "Don't do that."
Jeez. Calm down, woman. We came with a present.
Calm down.
So what's the present?
Here, take it, and just pull out one of the scrolls. We
Uh,
found a cool wizard guy who's selling these.
wow, I didn't think you guys had enough money for something like this.
Hey, we have money. Not a lot, but we have money.
I don't imagine you have a lot after buying these. Thanks a lot. And taking the initiative, Professor Plaster helps the two of you up and introduces himself.
Wow, you're real tall.
I've been told before.
Cool. So what do you do?
Same as my dear student here, I'm an archaeologist.
Oh, cool. Sick. Do you
yeah.
find dinosaurs?
Wow.
Once or twice.
I wanna.
But
I
I'm
wanna
afraid,
ride one into the sunset.
well, you'll have plenty of time to try on your adventure. From what Anna's told me, it seems like you and your party have gotten yourself into quite a little situation.
It's true. They spot the cultist in the corner. Probably still knocked out.
Yeah, he is.
Smack him around. Wake up!
What the heck?
Anna just like has to hold you back, like a person in high school holds their friend back from like going to town.
Really, she's just holding them in her hands.
And it's just like, all right, let's calm down.
I'm too jazzed.
I'm too jazzed.
Anna pinches the bridge of her non-existent nose, being that she's a talking sunflower, and says, "Well, if you're so worked up, maybe you should just take a night at the inn."
How much is it at the end?
Oh, I gave you guys the gold. 10 gold for a room.
They just kind of like look at her blankly with like a blank smile. We don't have it. We don't have enough gold to stay there.
She kind of just stares at you for a minute before Professor Plaster just kind of pats her on the back and says, I think you sent her into shock. Here. And he tosses you another parcel of 10 gold.
Thanks, Mr. Tall Plant Man. Yeah, the others took the gold.
No, the others didn't take the gold.
Okay, Paul took the gold.
Paul was
Anna,
given the gold.
which he then promptly lost.
Oh yeah, can we search the the guy that she was smacking around?
Sure. Roll a d12.
He
Wait, why'd
has
you
to
roll
have
a
something
D12?
interesting on him.
For loot.
You didn't make me roll.
Well, I rolled it.
10.
He doesn't have anything to particularly note on it except for a pitch black candle.
Cool.
Yeah.
You really
Take.
are jazzed.
She's too jazzed about the whole performance that Mr. Wizard Man showed.
Yeah.
I'm too jazzed right now. I'm so worked up.
Hopefully this is some kind of lavender because I need to really calm down.
Anna just kind of smiles and just kind of nudges you to lead you out the door. It's just like, all right, I'm just gonna take you two to the inn.
Mind you, this entire time Fall's just been kind of stone-faced. But quietly, quietly copying Flower's movements.
Yeah.
You think the inn is close to the tavern?
No, the inn is the tavern, actually.
Oh, okay. Then Captain Red don't need to move anywhere. He can just keep down in that bottle.
Yeah, so we'll cut to Paul, have him do whatever he wants to do, and then once he regroups with the party, we'll call it and catch up next week. So, Paul, I'm guessing you're just going to follow the Cyclops' directions?
Yeah. But go to the shady area.
All right, you find yourself in the same shady back alley area that that Flower and Fall were in to meet the wizard. His house is over to the left, but over to the right, there's sort of just a kind of haphazard stack of houses. Some of them have ladders to get into them. So it's shabby, but this looks pretty suspicious.
Looks pretty. I have to figure out how to get my, or how to figure out what happened to my gold.
Well, whoever stole 48 gold off you is probably really jazzed right.
Yeah, find the person who's like kicking down other doors and being like, fuck you guys, and like flipping a table.
Even though your character got more money than him.
My character does.
Well,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I mean, that's still a lot of gold by this place's standard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're set for
I
a
got
good
it
while.
for free! Free
Yeah.
through theft.
Like, Red Drake is like a super pricey drink, if I understand it, right, Matthew?
Yeah.
And it's like a glass of it's like 4, and like a freaking bottle is like 8. So
It's just kind of crazy. It doesn't make much sense. But anyway, I'm
well,
going.
Whenever you buy things in bulk, you know, whenever you buy it in bulk, you get a little bit better deal than if you bought things individually.
True, but still. But anyway, I'm going to just, I guess, investigate.
All right, roll investigation. Also, while he's rolling it, I'll just kind of cover a couple things. For the record, the reason, like, basically the reason it's so expensive and like the ingredients for food isn't, is it's just simple like supply and demand. Like everyone like comes here for the alcohol, so that's really pricey, especially because it's the good stuff. But like you're probably the first person in a while, because think about this, Austin, the food stand was completely unmanned and the Cyclopses didn't consider that a problem until you showed up. So
Yeah.
there's probably a reason that stuff's so cheap.
Yeah.
What, did people not eat on this freaking place?
Well, they probably are just not buying it.
What
Why
are they-
buy
Yeah, they probably just buy food from the tavern.
Or steal
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's more what I was going for.
I mean, considering they leave it wide open. Of course they're gonna steal.
Yeah. But I got a 7.
God, you guys' perception and investigation is wild. You can't really discern anything particularly unique. I will give you this though. There is in total 6 houses, 3 on a bottom row, and then on top of them 3 more with ladders to get up to them.
Well, the problem is there's not much I can do.
Unless you want to start searching house to house.
Well, even
Yeah.
then, like, okay, they have a bag of, unless they have the bag of gold with exactly like my money amount.
Well, you could take a little bit more than what your money. You gotta get some compensation for your truck.
Nah, he's not all about that.
Are you gonna abandon your little mission?
This is a toughie.
He really wants to cook.
Well, yeah, I want to get a mess where I can cook like right there and anytime I need. But the problem is I got no money anymore. Got stolen. But I guess I should do at least some like go into people's houses and be like, have you
Have you seen someone who pickpocketed me?
have you seen a pickpocketer, anywhere, just like
Have you seen a pickpocketer with a big
Alright, so any particular intention for which house you're going to?
No, I'm just I guess whichever's the closest, one at a time, just figure out what's going on.
You kick in the first door.
Wait. I don't tend to be violent. No,
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm just knock on the door. I don't want. I'm a friendly man.
Okay. The first door yields no response whatsoever. It's just dead silent. Gonna keep trying.
Yep. Keep going house to house. If I didn't get a response, I get a response.
No answer. No answer. No answer. No answer.
Yeah.
So okay, first house, no answer. Second house, you hear kind of kaleidoscope music. Like what you hear at carnivals. And you hear some like cackling, but you don't like that's and there's kind of colorful things coming from inside. But that's all you can make out. It's like too blinding and neon for you to really get anything valuable. In the third house, the furthest on the right, before you start heading to the second floor, you hear some very telltale moaning, and a woman's voice cry out, "Oh, Santa!"
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah. Well,
How did you come up with that one, Matthew?
Like I was waiting for it too. I was just
I barge in.
do I want to
Wait, you
commit
had
to the?
that in this whole time?
Yeah.
He was so hoping you'd barge in.
No.
All right.
I don't need to barge in on that, so I'm just gonna
let them have their fun.
Yeah, I'll go to the second floor then.
That's like whenever you open the door to that one house and find like some dudes doing some really fucked up shit.
Yeah.
And like the South Park games.
Yeah. Also,
Slowly closes the door.
First door on the right, just because it's the closest ladder, so I figured you'd go that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you knock, you hear a shuffling sound, but then just dead silence. On the middlest house on the second floor, whenever you knock, you just hear step away. And in the final door, just no response, same as the first one on this side.
That was wholly unproductive.
Yes.
But funny.
So can I go back to the moaning door?
I mean, hey, I didn't just describe these doors for shits and giggles. You can go in any of them you want.
I know.
Cyclops guy said you would find your pickpocket here if he's around, anyway.
Yeah. Well, looks like I lost money.
Well,
Just gonna abandon it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much I could do. I mean, unless I just start barging into people's houses. Which one has a gun, and one has probably something worse than a gun.
one has a creepy fucking clown in it.
Well, the clown's clown. It's just I'm talking about the.
Okay, I mean, clown's a clown.
I don't care about the clown.
And then
Clown.
there's 2 empty ones with no response.
I mean, I'll respect their property and all that. Just,
And their
that's
privacy.
yeah.
All right, so you're just gonna give up and head back to Anna.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk back in shame. Be like, well,
As you descend the ladder and start heading back, you don't recognize her, but you as the player will. Dolly is in front of you, just staring up at you with her little wagon of goods.
did Dolly rob me? Well, I guess I'll greet myself. Be like, hello there.
She seems pleasantly surprised and gives you a bow before holding out her name tag and says, "Hi, I'm Dolly." And you note, Captain Red, you didn't notice this, but Paul, you do. It's spelt doll dash and then the sign of a euro for the E.
Subtle.
She smiles up at you and says, "Dolly has anything in her store that you could want."
Well, that does sound very nice, but it seems as though I don't have the funds to afford anything you have.
But it seems like what I have is to get your funds back.
You piqued my interest now. Is that so? How is that?
I can tell you which house he's in if you give me half of what you get back from him.
Half your money is better than.
I was gonna say like, I mean, it's like better than nothing. I guess I'll take her up on her deal. Yeah.
She smiles at you and points to the top right house where you had heard a shuffling sound and then silence.
Oh. Well, I mean,
I'm gonna find like some kid.
but I'll be like, okay, wait one moment, and I'll just go back to the door and first I'm gonna give it a little bang, just be like, give him a chance.
Same deal as before. You hear a creak and then silence.
He could be like, I know you're in there.
I'm gonna kick down the door.
Oh, he's going in hard.
Make a strength check.
Strength check, okay.
Rolls
That's
a
how
one.
that's how you normally do things like breaking down doors. I only skip
Yeah.
it for when it's purely for flavor.
Yeah. It's
Rolls
like
a one. And
it's like
falls down.
yeah, it rolls like a 2, like
Eh.
the girl comes along, the little girl comes, the little girl comes along and just breaks the door down, you know.
Jill laser visions the door down.
Alright. 21.
That'll do it.
The door comes off its hinges and goes.
The door goes flying, and you hear a thud and a oof. And you see an unconscious guy in a raincoat. Doesn't appear to be wearing pants. And he shoves the door off of him rapidly before unsheathing a dagger and just says, "You got some nerve coming into my house, old man."
Well, I apologize for the door. And I mean, it could have been avoided. I simply tried to get your attention and you refused to answer. And but
Who
it,
answers the door in a pirate town?
I mean, I
Yeah,
can't. I don't
no
know. But
no response.
yeah, no response at all. But well, I mean, that's not my fault.
Oh, then whose fault is it, Alfred?
Well, maybe next time answer the door. But I'm but I'm just gonna simply ask, or I'm gonna simply tell him it has come to my attention that you have stolen something from me.
Yeah, me and everyone else in this town. What do you want of it?
I want it back.
He kind of smiles all cocky-like and twirls the dagger that he had unsheathed and says,
Always no
And-
fucking pants on.
yeah, and says, and if I
Just
say no,
hanging out.
Yeah, revealing himself to the world.
yes, to the world, to the eyes of God.
Well, I'm going to pull out my shield and be like, well, for starters, that door won't be the first thing that bashes you.
Ooh, that was good.
Dang, the butler had some quips.
He smiles and enters a combat position. Very unfortunate given his clothing situation. And
Why
says,
does he have no fucking pants?
and he smiles and says, the butler's got quips now. And he whistles sharply, and you hear all the
Matthew,
other
you
doors.
stole my line.
And you hear all the other doors that you had knocked on burst open.
Oh shit.
And we're gonna cut it off there.
Boy, oh
Oh
boy.
shit, you're fucked.
Beautiful.
Maybe, but not without a fight.
All right. So, any last thoughts before we end
God,
the stream?
that fucking one door though, Matthew. I can't
Wait.
believe you made a joke like that.
Wait, all the
That guy's
doors?
just completely naked as he walks up.
And yes, all
Yes.
doors.
So yeah, I was like,
But I was talking specifically about the Santa door.
I know, that's what I'm thinking right now, because if all the doors bust open, what's coming out of that door?
What disaster's gonna walk out of that door?
Sounds like I might have to fight some people who are less clothes.
Why does he have no pants? Most people would just choose to have the pants and just no shirt.
Well, not that. Hey, this guy's safe from the rain. That's what matters.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Oh my god.
Honestly, I love the idea of just this Alfred-ass butler just wow, just kicking in the door.
Is the stream still going or is it stopped?
Yeah, we're just kind of getting some last thoughts. So, any last
Yeah.
things for yourselves or the audience before we end things off here?
Holy shit. I never expected Matthew to make a joke like that Santa joke. Like, it is the last kind of joke I'd expect him to make.
I will be less jazzed tomorrow. It's okay.
I mean, hey, it's fun when you're jazzed. I like everyone being jazzed.
Yeah.
It's enthusiasm.
Jazz hands.
I'm probably.
I'll try to figure out how to make a voice for fall later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just quiet by nature, anyways.
All right, and Austin, anything from you before we end things off?
I mean, just gonna have to try to plan something for this endeavor. Well, I mean, I do have to ask.
Butler fans are gonna get murdered while the captain's drunk and the fairies are jazzed.
Super jazz. But
Jazz hands.
though I mean, we did. What happened? What's the experience in the first fight?
Let me go ahead and tally that up. Actually, all of you leveled up from that first.
Okay, well that.
Awesome. So what?
Cool.
What's
That's
my
cool.
XP at, and what's my next level?
300 exactly. So
And
just
what's the
enough.
next level?
Yeah, just
Level
enough.
2.
Level 2.
No,
And
how much to the next level?
Oh,
Uh,
Like
well,
how
let's
much
go
I
ahead. Let's go ahead and end the stream
I
before
can-
we start.
Yeah, I
math
can
and
do
stuff.
that.
See you guys next week.